episode 99 of BookMob. Now, today I'm going to talk about a fantastic new history book written by Lisa Wilkinson, and it's called The Titanic Story of Evelyn. It's this fantastic narrative history of an young Australian woman who decides to travel the world, and through her experience working as a stewardess on ocean liners in the early part of the 20th century, she ends up as a first-class stewardess on the Titanic. And the story is about her, her humble backgrounds to how she just had this drive all her life to leave the country, South Australian country town she grew up in, where she wanted to explore the world, and boy, did she do it. Now, before I start, I just want to read one passage from here on page 148, and it just gives you a sense of the type of history we're talking about, the way Lisa has approached this history through the individual experience of Evelyn Marsden, but at the same time, she talks about what it exposes about the world at that time, how we have these technologically superior ocean-going vessels, yet at the heart of it, who runs them, who keeps them going, and it's about a tiered society. You have all the wealth, all the millionaires, billionaires, traveling up 11 stories up in the first class, and she comes across this passage, which I think I just need to read because it's so well done. Okay. The Stokers, men so low in the community that they were able to live no pleasanter life than that afforded by the stokehold of a ship. An inferno of darkness and noise and commotion and insufferable heat. Men whose experience of the good things of life was half an hour's breathing of the open sea air between their spells of labour at the furnaces, or a drunken spree ashore, whence after being poisoned by cheap drink and robbed by joyless women of the fruits of the spell of their labour, they are obliged to return to it again and find the means for another debauch. Now, what I'm saying is that Lisa Wilkinson in this history has demonstrated through one young Australian woman her career and her survival. I mean, we all know what happened to the Titanic, so I'm not giving anything away here. But it's the way that through Evelyn Marsden, in her she didn't struggle. She was a very, very, outwardly enthusiastic, expressive person who knew what she wanted to do from a very young age. And Lisa starts with her Evelyn I think it's on the Murray, and she's rowing, and it's this, she's just a strong, powerful individual person. And obviously what happens a decade or so later when she is one of the last females on board, and the history leading up to that point, to that a night to remember, so to speak, is incredibly well done. It's so entertaining. It's a book that can be read by almost anyone. It's entertaining as a read, for sure. It's filled with great ideas. It's a mythology. It's filled with anecdotes, things you'll never... I didn't know that, for instance, of the four funnels on top of the Titanic, one was a fake one, was merely put there for symmetry. I didn't know that, but that was a little fact that came out of the book. The fact that there were 900 employees on the Titanic, and how many of those died, it's just sad. Again, on the brutal night of the Titanic, where Evelyn is caught between her desire for survival, her responsibilities as an employee who must stay behind while the passengers, the whole point of women and children first, was really played quite well. I mean, the history through which Wilkinson describes many anecdotes of, it discovers how in the worst of times, the best of people come out and the worst of people come out. And the fact that this is not a fiction, it's filled with footnotes. It's obviously being researched. gathering all the elements of Evelyn's life from young girl riding her horse to the sadness of her older brother's death in the Boer War. Again, captures a period of Australian history, obviously from the late 19th century through Federation and up until the kind of just before the First World War, which broke out in 1914. And the story, it's not. I mean, on the blurb it says a heartwarming love story that lived on. Yeah, look, it's not. Let's not get carried away with the Titanic, the movie. Even though there is a love story in this is a sort of a genuine love story between a man and a woman who one's a doctor, one's a nurse, one's working on the Titanic, one is working for another ship line, and they're both going to different places in the world. And the idea that when you find out how much they wanted to be together, that on that last night, the way Evelyn, in her own history, has given the facts of her experience, it does build up this. How tragic it was for so many people who left people behind. I mean, one of the other facts that I gained from this history was that there were 50 page boys employed, young kids, I guess early teenagers who did messages, and all of them died, because they were employees. Even though it was women and children first, the employees had to stay behind and drown. And the stories of Evelyn's courageous sort of, when she finally, I don't want to give it away because it is important to find out how she did survive. It is important that you understand the kind of person that she was. And I think Lisa Wilkinson brings this story so alive that it's one of those things that people can read and enjoy. It's history that can be done, enjoyed, and really, really lived by through a writer, a journalist, who then proposes a story. This woman, Evelyn Marsden, a young Australian woman from South Australia. And through that, we get so much history of the 20th century. The book is just filled with wonderful anecdotes, really, really sad anecdotes. Okay, there is an anecdote here that reminds, let me just read it, 71, 220. Now, I don't know if you've seen, there's a film, a book by Sebastian Junger, whatever, where, what's it called, The Storm, Perfect Storm. Now, I'm talking about the film. The film, there's a part of the film where once the boat is doomed, there's a image of one of the men who is realizing as the ship is sinking, he's in an air pocket, that his life is over. And it's just the way, and in fact, there is a story, an anecdote from Violet, one of the other, a friend of Evelyn, who was also a stewardess, where she was talking to, while the ship was, things weren't going well, this young man, his name was Stanley, and she said, as she left, he was standing with his arms clasped behind him in the corner where he usually kept his evening watch. He suddenly looked very tired. Good old ugly-faced, big-hearted Stanley. Now, this is the last moments of a man's life because she's getting out and this person is not going to get out. And it just has that poignant sort of human, you're getting a memory from someone who survived, passed through the generations, and it's just as strong today. And I think that's just one of the wonderful things about Wilkinson's book, is that it is tragic, but at the same time, it demonstrates how enjoyable history can be, how you can take a simple story, and I'm not talking about the Titanic, that's not a simple story, but the person, an individual from South Australia who decides to see the world, and the one way she can do it is by being a nurse or a stewardess on these ocean liners. And again, I think if I look at, 148, where one of the, what do you call it? No, maybe page 71. Let me check it out. Yeah. Okay. And this is, again, what I think Lisa Wilkinson's book does demonstrate so strongly when you read it. In the Titanic, And this is by a Irish journalist of the time. In the Titanic lay a microcosm of civilized society. Up above are all the beautiful things, the pleasant things. Down below are the terrible and necessary things. Up above are the people who rest and enjoy. Down below, the people who sweat and suffer. Northern Irish journalist Philson Young. And I think, for me, that's what the Titanic story was all about. It was always about. It was about capitalism. The great thing about capitalism, which is producing this incredible machine, and the sad things about capitalism is that you needed people to work in the bows of the ship to keep a sort of microscopic amount of people happy at the top layers of the top echelon of society. And I mean, you'd say then, "Oh, don't build the Titanic," but this is you've got to deal with your history your own way. And I just felt that's what Lisa was trying to get through, that the simple Evelyn Marsden from South Australia, she wants to see the world, she wants to explore the world. And I mean, obviously it must have been back in 1900s. I mean, the early part of the 20th century, it wasn't easy for working class or middle class women to travel the world, and this I guess at the start of the 20th century was one of the ways we are now, that people can do this almost as easily as baking a pie. So what I'm saying is that Lisa takes this humble person, throws them into this incredible, massive event of the time. I mean, I think just thousands and thousands of people died. 1,500, I think, is the end result. And Lisa doesn't just she builds up through Evelyn's career, how she falls in love with a doctor, and how he is also working on ships, but they can't work together. And the ultimate destiny is that he was trying to get a job on the Titanic, and he was going to get a position as a doctor on the Titanic. And if he did, well, I'm not going to tell you what happens. He may have got the job anyway. But it's so well written, easily to read, entertaining. I mean, I can imagine if you read at night before you go to bed, instead of taking your phone and just doom scrolling for hours, just take an hour and you can go back to doom scrolling after. But take an hour and just drop yourself into this Titanic universe, this slice of history, this slice of readable, enjoyable, entertaining history. It's a book I think that anyone can read and enjoy and will get a lot out of it. So all I want to say is Lisa Wilkinson's The Titanic Story of Evelyn. Awesome book. And also, I might add, there was a person in here called Eugene Daly, D-A-L-Y, and that's my name, D-A-L-Y. And my grandfather was a stoker in the Merchant Marine in the Second World War, and my parentage is Irish, and Eugene Daly was an Irishman, and this person survived the sinking of the Titanic. And I always wonder if there's going to be some connection. I know that thousands of people have the name Daly, but it was just interesting to see my surname pop up, and also that the fact that my grandfather and his father both worked for the Merchant Marine, and he would have been around while this bloke was still alive. Anyway, that was just one interesting anecdote for me. So the book is filled with capitalism, mythology, anecdotes, destiny. It does tell a great love story in a different way. It's not a Hollywood version of a love story. It's a regular person's love story, which is better, because most of us, or some of us, experience that in our life. So the other thing I was thinking is the Titanic is so huge in our culture. One would think that we have overdosed on the Titanic, but I don't think so, because I think it is a human story, and the more individual stories like Evelyn's by Lisa Wilkinson, who can draw out an entire life from one fantastic event, one tragic fantastic event, takes a special talent. I mean, you've got to get all the facts, you've got to get all the research, and then you've got to mold it into a story that is readable and enjoyable and entertaining, but at the same time, it's sincere, and that's important. And I think it is. I mean, I put my faith in the people who worked, other than Lisa, I'm talking about people who worked in the periphery, who were obviously looking for the truth, looking for facts, and this has created. I mean, this is another great thing about capitalism, is that you can produce beautiful books like this, And anyway, great book. Loved it. I read it very quickly, and I was engaged and entertained. All right, before we go, I'm just reading Anne Rice, The Witching Hour. This is volume 1 of 3. I don't know if I'll read the other 2. It's very well written. Bloody good book. I finally got my of the calculation of volume by Solveig Bell. This is, I think, excuse me, my bloody camera fell down. I'm going to keep that in. This is Solveig Bell, the calculation of volume number 4. Also got the last version of Blake Crouch's The Wayward Pines, and finally got Time After Time by Carl Alexander about Jack the Ripper using a time machine to go to 1979. So lots of good reading to come. Anyway, that's it for BookMob for episode 99. Remember, read books, keep books, read books, steal books, borrow books, lend books, but always get books back. And I'll see you in the next episode. Thank you. Bye.